शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So welcome back to the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, first wave. We have been discussing the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. We, in the previous classes, spent almost 2 classes on defining pure devotional service, Uttama Bhakti definition, and then we saw the references from the Naraj Pancharatra and also the Bhagavatam. So we saw these 6 characteristics and we began with Kleshagni. And Klesha has these 3 types, Avidya, Papam and Bijam, or Avidya, Bij and then Papam. And within Papam there is Aprarabdha and Prarabdha. And how Bhakti destroys Aprarabdha karma. From the 11th canto, Rupa Goswami gives this reference, which Krishna himself is speaking. And then how Bhakti destroys Prarabdha karma. From the Kapil Shiksha, Rupa Goswami quotes this verse recited by Mother Devahuti. How even a Swapacha becomes qualified to perform yagyas. So that body which he has got because of sinful activities, a dog eater's body, he gets immediately, it is nullified with taking up of devotional service. Then there was some clarification which Swami gave. Now the second reference Rupa Goswami gives is from the Padma Puran. So this is where we have to begin our discussion today. So let us recite this verse and then begin today's discussion. This is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Eastern Division 1, first wave, and verse 23. Prarabdha Haratvam Padma Purane Cha That is in the Padma Puraram. Aprarabdha phalam papam utam bijam falonmukham krameneva praliyate Vishnur bhakti ratatmanam. For those engaged in bhakti to Vishnu, Vishnu bhakta ratatmanam. Rata means one who is engaged, like Bharata. Bharata, the land, India is actually Bharat. That is the how it was called in the Vedic times. Bha means Bhaskar. Bhaskar means light. Rat means one who is engaged. So India is the land where people are engaged in the quest for enlightenment. Bharata. So similarly, those who are engaged in bhakti, Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. Step by step, krama nevaiva, kramenevaiva, krameneva means step by step. Krama and na eva. Kramena iva, it is, sorry. The prarabdha, puta, bija, and prarabdha karmas are destroyed. Aprarabdham phalam, papam, putam, bijam, phalanmukam. So there are four things. Aprarabdha is aprarabdha, puta, putam, bijam, and prarabdha. Where is it mentioned in this verse? Anyone can just guess. It's a simple guess to be made. Where is prarabdha karma described in this verse? Because this is a reference Rupa Goswami is quoting for prarabdha haratvam. So in this verse, prarabdha is destroyed, kuta, bija, but in this verse, where is the prarabdha mentioned? Anyone can? Yes, Lata Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Falonmukham?
Yes, it is falonmukham. Falonmukham means phala unmukham, means already the reactions which have fructified, which we are suffering now. So that is prarabdha karma. So actually this falonmukham is the prarabdha karma, are destroyed, praliyate. So specifically Rupa Goswami is concentrating on the prarabdha karma. Although Bhakti destroys both prarabdha and aprarabdha, specific references he has given in the previous verses of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But here he is specifically dealing with prarabdha also. Now there is a very interesting commentary given by Jiva Goswami on this. And let us attentively spend time in understanding the commentary, and then we will see what Prabhupada has to say about it. And then we will take up question answers. Till then, please hold on. If you have any questions, kindly hold to yourself and just attentively hear, make a mental note or make a note on your pen. Maybe the answer will be given as the discussion flows. After I discuss this entire commentary by Jiva Goswami and Prabhupada's explanation, still if you have any questions, then you can ask. Okay, so let us go now into the commentary. First thing is clarifications needed on terminologies. Bijam here means that reaction that is nearing fruition, and is in the form of impressions or any impeding physical suffering experienced at the mental level. So here the bijam which is being referred in this verse is actually the reaction, because the reactions to any sinful activities follow these stages from prarabdha to putam, putam to bijam, and bijam to prarabdha. So here bijam refers to the reaction which is nearing fruition. Sorry, my pronunciation is really, my throat is gone today. And it is in the form of impressions. Maybe it is at the mental level. This bijam is different from the previous bij, material desires that leads to pap. So Rupa Goswami also had mentioned that kleshas to papam bijam avidya, he had said. So there when Rupa Goswami speaks about bij, he speaks about material desires. Rupa Goswami is speaking about material desires, but here in the Padma Puran, bija refers to the reaction, which is at, which is nearing the fructifying stage. The first bijam, material desire, is a terminology coined by Rupa Goswami. So this first bijam is referring to that verse which we had discussed, and maybe I will show that so that people are clear about it. Yes, kleshas tu papam tad bijam, sinful reaction, the seed of sin, that is sinful desires. So here also he has used his bij. This is Rupa Goswami's verse. Rupa Goswami has coined this bijam term meaning seed of sin. Whereas this bij in the Padma Puran is referring to the reaction which is almost fructifying. So the first bijam, material desire, is a terminology coined by Rupa Goswami. The second bijam, reaction nearing fructification, is a terminology of Padma Puran. These two should not be confused. For convenience, let us term the first as Papa Bijam and the second one as Karma Bijam. So this is the Pap Bij, the sin of desire, the desire for committing sin. That is why we say it as a Papijam. And this is the reactions which come through these four stages: Prarabdha, Utam, Bijam, Falonmukam, or Prarabdha. So that's why we term this as Karma Bij, just for convenience sake. Now, after these terminologies are clear, let us go to the commentary. Jiva Goswami. This additional quotation from the Padma Puran makes clear the fact that bhakti destroys prarabdha karma. The word papam is the substantiative which is modified by the words aprarabdha, phalam, utam, bijam, and phalonmukham. So papam, papa is reaction, sinful reactions, and they are explained or expanded in these four levels. That is aprarabdha, utam, bijam, and then phalonmukam. This verse particularizes sinful reaction. Phalonmukam, approaching fruition, means prarabdha karma. Literally commenced karma. That means you are already suffering the karma reaction. It has the sinful reaction presently being experienced in this life as happiness and distress. So Phalonmukam is very clear as prarabdha karma. Bija means that reaction. See, Jiva Goswami is very clear. Bija here means reaction which is about to become prarabdha. So it is in the form of a seed, and it is very close to becoming prarabdha. Prarabdha means you're already experiencing it. So bija it is in the form of a seed, and immediately it is going to become prarabdha, about to be experienced, and is in the form of impressions. These are all impressions there in the chitta, in the heart. Now, important note by Bhanuswami Maharaj. Note, this could imply that in this life, the karmas or bijas are somewhat detectable in the mind as impeding suffering, and later materialize as physical suffering called prarabdha karma. So these bijas are somewhat in the mental level, in the mind we can detect it, that it's, sometimes we can perceive at a mental level that I'm going through some giddiness and some kind of a slight problem, and suddenly after 2-3 days I collapse and I'm detected that I have cancer or I have a brain tumor and I'm admitted in the ICU. The suffering begins. So 2-3 days back, the beach was there and it started fructifying and turning into prarabdha. So that's how bijas are. Now, kuta. So bija and prarabdha are little clear. Another thing we want to make it clear here is that usually the prarabdha and the bija are what we experience in this life, and that's why they are clubbed together. Bijam and prarabdha, they are clubbed together. Kutam and aprarabdha are what we are going to experience in the future lives. So that's why kutam and aprarabdha are usually clubbed together. That means in this life when I am born, I will be experiencing certain level of happiness and suffering in this entire lifetime. And all these sufferings which I'm going to experience, or happiness which I'm going to experience, they are all there, which will come to me maybe after 10 years, 15 years during this lifetime, and they are all stored as bija. And at particular times during this lifetime, they will fructify and give me prarabdha. So only in this lifetime, according to your karma, only particular suffering or happiness you will undergo, and they are all stored as bija for this life only. And this is from the sum total of all your sanchit karma, it is called. The sum total of all karma is called as sanchit karma. And as you are doing karma in this life also, the reactions will come, and they will also be, going again in the sanchit karma, which you will be experiencing in the future lives. So that's how the bija and the kuta are little different. Again, it will become more clear when we discuss. Kuta refers to sinful reactions which are about to become bija. Kuta will become into bija. Aprarabdha phalam means those reactions which are not prarabdha. They are not to be experienced in this life at all. So aprarabdha means you are not going to experience those sufferings in this life at all, maybe in the future lives, but which cause effects in the form of kuta, bija and prarabdha. So aprarabdha has these effects in the form of kuta, bija and prarabdha. Now another important note, it should be understood here that all of these reactions to previously, all of these are reactions to previously committed sins. These reactions progress from subtle to gross forms over many lifetimes. So first aprarabdha, from aprarabdha it comes to kutam and bijam. Here we have reframed it as karma bija, and then prarabdha. So from subtle to gross forms, it goes on for many lifetimes. These aprarabdha karmas have been acquired without beginning, anadi siddhi, and are infinite in number, ananta. So unlimited seeds are stored in the chitta, and only in this lifetime, only few of the seeds are released, which are in the form of bija, which we'll be experiencing in this lifetime. But in the next maybe 10 lifetimes, or in the next lifetime, some of the aprarabdha will become kuta, and then bija, and then prarabdha. And some might aprarabdha which are there still in very subtle form, maybe after 10 lifetimes they will fructify. So like that, they are unlimited, they are without beginning, and they are infinite in number. Another note, the karma is anadi because the jiva's existence in the material world is anadi. Only a certain number of these mature at a certain time, and therefore the other varieties would not be infinite. In other words, aprarabdha karmas are without beginning and infinite, but prarabdha karmas are not. So, as I was mentioning, that aprarabdha karma The unlimited sins are all stored in the form of seed, whereas prarabdha karma means in this lifetime only some are there in the form of bija, which will be experiencing these lifetimes. Others are all in the form of aprarabdha karma, which we'll be experiencing in the future lives. So prarabdha karma is finite. Finite means it is known that in this lifetime, this much happiness, this much distress you're going to suffer based on your karma. But aprarabdha, we cannot speak about it because they are going to come over many lifetimes in one sense. Now, further, in this work, aprarabdha phala has been simply called aprarabdha. Aprarabdha phala has been called as prarabdha, and this was illustrated in verse 20. That was the Uddhav Gita verse. I'll just show the verse so that you are clear. Verse 20 spoke about this. Yathagni susamridarchi karoti idhamsi bhasmasat. So that is how aprarabdha is destroyed. So verse 20, it is same. Aprarabdha is referring to this here. Aprarabdha. Bija and prarabdha were reckoned together previously in verse 21. So in verse 21, that is the Devahuti's verse, Yannama Deha Shavananu Kirtanat. So in that verse, how bhakti destroys prarabdha karma was mentioned, but along with prarabdha, bija also was included in that verse. So it was included. Here it is expanded in the Padma Puran verse. Since the bijas manifest as suffering in this lifetime, the two are often simply classed as prarabdha. Yeah, as I mentioned, prarabdha and bija are one class because they are experienced in this life. Aprarabdha and kutam are classed together because we don't experience them in this lifetime, maybe in the future lifetimes. Now an example is here. If in a previous lifetime, I have committed an act for which I must suffer sickness in this life, the reaction is called bija until the time it manifests in this lifetime. So the reaction is there in the heart in the form of a seed, in the bija. And in this lifetime, it will manifest. Maybe at the age of 40, I'm going to get a disease. So when you come to the age of 40, that which was there in the form of bij, it will manifest in the form of a disease, and then it becomes prarabdha. The bija becomes prarabdha. When it manifests as sickness, it is called prarabdha. Now, the remaining type not yet discussed, kuta reaction, may be included with aprarabdha reactions. So kuta is also a reaction, but it is clubbed with aprarabdha, as I mentioned, because they are going to be experienced in the future lifetimes. Another note, thus the experience in this body of suffering at the moment is called prarabdha, and the upcoming suffering in this lifetime due to karma is called bija. Very clear explanation. It may be detectable on the mental level as a premonition before it happens. So what is premonition? Premonition means, I get on the mental level a picture that maybe next 2 days I might fall sick and I might land up in trouble. I'm sensing that I might face some severe disease. So at a mental level, these bijas, they can manifest and they can show us that this reaction is coming. And I don't know about many devotees might also have experienced. I also had few experiences like this, that something which is going to come up now, and we are able to sense it. and then that is called as a premonition. So the bijas, before they become prarabdha, there is a premonition. If one were able to intuit circumstances of the next life, that would called that would be called, actually called be nahi, sorry, I think there was a mistake in that, would be called kuta. So if we can do the premonition of the next life suffering, especially the next life, so then it is actually kutam, is kutam. Now let me give a very practical example. Suppose somebody is suffering in the hospital, he's on the deathbed, and uh, he starts getting a premonition that in the next life, maybe I'm going to get a animal's body, and he becomes very fearful. So actually the aprarabdha is now turning into kuta. Like in this lifetime, I have been doing a lot of meat eating, and because of the sins committed over this lifetime and the previous lifetimes, I am supposed to get a reaction in the form of a next body of a animal body. And when now I am in the human body, when I am in the hospital going through suffering, at a mental level, I am able to see that I might get a animal's body, and I become fearful. So this kind of premonition of a next body, that is kutam, is like the seed of your next body. It's a seed of your next body. So this kind of premonition, which in the next lifetime you are going to suffer, which comes in the form of a seed. Again, it is in the form of a seed. That is called as kutam. Now, I know many cases where patients, especially those who are very sinful, they go, especially when they are going in a critical stage in their treatment in the ICU, they are about to leave the body, they go into a state of coma. And it is usually that they sense that their next body uh, is an animal body, and this body also they are miserably suffering now in the ICU or in the hospital. And the next body, when they in the premonition they understand that it is a this is the body I'm going to enter, they become still more fearful. They are fearful because of their attachments in this world. Everything is being withdrawn, and they are fearful about again going into a next level of existence in the form of an animal body. So sometimes the Lord, being very merciful, puts these kind of souls into coma, and many sometimes die in coma. And that is why it helps the soul to do the transition from this body where you have led a very sinful life to the next body which you had a premonition of an animal body. So it is some cases, and it's not true for all cases, but just an example I am giving you. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the fourth canto, there is the narration of King Prachinvari. King Prachinvari, although he was a very pious king, but somehow he got entangled in doing a lot of karma kanda yagyas and doing a lot of animal sacrifices. Narad Muni became compassionate on him, and he preached to the king through the allegory of the Puranjan story. And it is said that the king was able to visualize and see that he has done so much animal sacrifices, and he was able to see that so many animals are there to now devour him. So this is like a premonition which you get of the next future body, then the next life, that would be kuta. The undetectable karmas waiting for future lives would be called a prarabdha. So this, if it is kuta, then the undetectable karmas which you will be suffering in the future, they will be called as a prarabdha. So this is regarding kutam and a prarabdha. Now, Kramena means that the reactions are destroyed gradually from recent to previous. That is from Prarabdha to Bijam to Kutam and to Aprarabdha. So the reactions go from gross to subtle, the destruction. Now, however, verse 21 mentioned that immediately the Prarabdha karmas of the dog eater were destroyed rather than gradually, because sadhya. Sadhya was the word which was used. Yanna, madhya, shravananu, kirtana. But here it is saying kramena. So is there a contradiction? Now, another footnote. Mukunda Goswami. Mukunda Goswami is one also great acharya in the, I think in the 16th or the 17th century. And he has also written a commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is not so well known. But of course, we Gaudiyas only refer to Jiva Goswami and Vishnu Chakatakur. He makes a note. Mukunda Goswami points out that there are exceptions to this rule. Ajamil eradicated the bija first, the upcoming suffering in hell. This is because the powers of the Lodi name are beyond rules. So the destruction happens from Aprarabdha to Bijam to Kutam and Prarabdha. This is not a rule which applies at all times. Krishna is inconceivably merciful, and he can destroy sometimes directly the bija of suffering of hell, and this is in the case of Ajamil. Therefore, one should understand that the Prarabdha karmas will be destroyed in the manner of a needle piercing 100 lotus leaves. Now, there is an explanation. The needle appears to pierce, not piece, it is here, pierce. I don't know why these mistakes are here. The needle appears to pierce the whole pile of leaves in one instance, especially Matajis who are doing flowers. They can hold on a lot of petals and take one needle and pierce it as though it is like one shot it is happening. So in one instance immediately, but actually it pierces one leaf at a time gradually. Similarly, the karmas will be destroyed gradually, though from the perspective of the unlimited duration of the jiva's existence in the world, they are destroyed all at once. So when a lot of petals are taken and a needle is pierced, it seems like it is one piercing and all the needles, all the petals are pierced together. But if you watch it in a microscope, you can see that the needle is piercing one petal after another petal. It is happening gradually. Similarly, the karmas, if you see from the point of eternity, one lifetime is what? It is nothing. So from that viewpoint, if you see, it is actually at once it is happening. Thus, the contradiction between the two statements in verse 21 and the present verse is resolved. So this is regarding Jiva Goswami's explanation. There is further some clarification which is there, which devotees should know, which I will take up. Now, just I wanted to give one example about Prarabdha and Kutam. Now, this is not there in the Mahabharata, but it is in some other version of the Mahabharata or some Upapurana, I don't know, but it is there. It is said that Dhritarashtra was born blind and he had to see his 100 sons die. Now, it is mentioned that in one of Dhritarashtra's previous lives, he was a hunter. And he had mercilessly killed 100 birds. And some birds, or the parent birds, he had pierced their eyes. Now, as a reaction of that killing of 100 birds, he would also become blind. At the same time, he would see his 100 sons being killed. So that was the reaction he was to get. But at the same time, we see Dhritarashtra was a great king, and to become a king, one has to be pious. So it is mentioned after this hunter's life, the hunter went through 50 lifetimes where he performed a lot of pious activities also. So that ultimately he got a body of Dhritarashtra because of doing a lot of pious activities in this previous 50 lifetimes. At the same time, that karma, what Dhritarashtra had done 50 lifetimes back as a hunter, killing the 100 birds and plucking their ears, or killing means shooting the arrows in the eyes, that karma what he had done in this 50 lifetimes, it was remaining as a prarabdha and kuta. And in the lifetime of Dhritarashtra, that kutam became what? Bijam and prarabdha, in the form of Dhritarashtra being born blind, and it was there in the bija form, karma bija, that in the Kurukshetra war he would be losing his 100 sons. So that is how we can understand this prarabdha, kutam, bijam and prarabdha. Now, any questions you have regarding this, what we discussed till now? Any questions, any clarifications? Okay. Yes, Ratna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Like how you gave the example of Ajamila story, in that you said that aprarabdha was destroyed first.
Bijam,
But
Bijam was destroyed. That is Mukunda Goswami saying that Bijam was destroyed first.
Okay, Bijam was destroyed first. But if we look at it, the Vishnu Dutas went away and he was not killed. So the life is not yet over, na Prabhu? So the 4 problems of life, which also include death, that is also prarabdham, right? How you die. So can't we take it that first prarabdham was destroyed and then going to the Yamaraja, that bijam was also destroyed. So there also it's going in sequence, na Prabhu? He was suffering, he was released, that is prarabdham. He became a devotee again. So did it not go in a sequence, Prabhu? Why that exception there?
No, that is Mukunda Goswami's comment in his commentary to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He has only one point to say. Yes, it goes in a sequence, but inconceivably by Lord's arrangement, sometimes directly the bija means suffering of the next life. In one sense, it is kuta. The kuta turning into bija in the form of you getting a hellish body. That was immediately stopped. He being going to hell, that was immediately stopped by once taking the name of Narayan. So that is the point he's making here and there. But basically, as Jiva Goswami says, the destruction happens from prarabdha to bijam to kutam and aprarabdha. Usually it happens like that, systematically and gradually. But in that instance, he says the seed in the form of getting a hellish body and going and suffering in hell was immediately nullified by taking the name of Narayan. And that is the potency of the Lord's holy name. So that's the point he's making. That's it. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Avadharya Prabhuji has asked a question. What is this? How Jiva can know about aprarabdha? No, Jiva cannot know about aprarabdha. Jiva cannot know what all aprarabdha is there in the future, which body I'm going to get. Kutam also If Krishna's mercy is there, next body, whether we are getting a spiritual body or another body for our practice, or the materialist who are done a lot of sinful activities, they might also be given a vision about their next body. That is all ultimately the Paramatma. It is by the mercy of the Paramatma. So it is not, it cannot be known by us. What to speak about aprarabdha, knowing? We don't even know what are the bijas stored in this lifetime which will fructify and become prarabdha. So we don't know, and we should not worry much about it if we are sincerely practicing bhakti. If we are practicing bhakti, ultimately we should understand both aprarabdha and prarabdha, including bijam and kutam, will be completely destroyed by practice of pure devotional service. Okay, Madan Mohan Prabhuji has a question. Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu Haribol, Hare Krishna. If you can please explain once more the concept of karma and papa bijam.
Concept of karma and
Papa bijam. Karma bijam and papa bijam.
there is this term used, bijam or bija, by Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, when he uses that klesha means suffering or causes of suffering are of three kinds: avidya, bija, papam. So avidya means ignorance. Papa means the sinful desires. That's what Rupa Goswami means. And papa means sinful actions by which we get reactions, or sinful reactions, papam. Papam is again classified into aprarabdha and prarabdha. Whereas in the Padma Puran, the reactions to suffering go through these four stages from aprarabdha. Aprarabdha is reaction actually, which we are not going to experience in this life. Kutam is also a reaction. So any action we do, the reaction goes on in four stages. It manifests in four stages from aprarabdha to kutam to bijam and then to prarabdha. So that's how it goes through these four stages. Now again, it will become more clear when I will now take up the charts. I will explain the charts. I wanted to do that discussion only after I finish Jiva Goswami's commentary. So that's why I'm holding. So once I discuss again the chart, it will become more clear to you. Okay. Okay. Pavanabala Govinda Prabhuji. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Yes.
My thing is that where's this Sanchita karma and Prarabdha karma? How Sanchita karma fits in this this one?
Okay, Sanchit karma is actually, this term is not coming up here, but Sanchit karma, I suppose all devotees are aware. That is first taught in our Bhagavad Gita course, 7-day course or 6-day DYS course. When the 4th day we discuss the law of karma. So Sanchit karma is actually the sum total of all karmic reactions which are there. And we give that silo example. If you know the silo, what is the silo? I hope devotees are clear. Now the farmer, the first year, the grains, the rice grains, he puts it in the silo. The second year, then he piles it up. Third year, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year. And the first 3 years, it's a bad crop. So from the down, he, starts taking the rice out. Although in the next few years, what he has poured on the top are very good quality of rice, but what he's getting out is not a good quality of rice. And we must be wondering why. Because ultimately, year after year, the silo has been filled with, sometimes good grains or bad grains. good quality rice grains or bad quality. Similarly, the sum total of all karma, both pious and sinful, is what is called as Sanchit karma. And this Sanchit karma now gets in this lifetime, some which we are going to experience in this lifetime will become Bija and Prarabdha. And what you are going to get, like this lifetime, the Kuta is basically that you will be born in a pious, rich family. So that Kuta is because of a Prarabdha manifesting into Kuta, and then Bija will be that you'll enjoy in this lifetime, or you'll be very wealthy and you'll have a healthy life, you'll have a nice spiritual life, like that. So that will be Bija and Prarabdha, that you'll be having a very healthy body. So like that, these go through the stages, but Sanchit here doesn't come in the picture because the reactions to actions go through these 4 stages of Aprarabdha, Kutam, Bijam, Falonmukam, or Prarabdha. That is why it's not required, but I just gave that the sum total of all karma is actually called as Sanchit karma. Is it clear, Prabhuji?
Right.
Okay. So now we have discussed this. Now, how many devotees are first time hearing this discussion, or previously they have come across this this verse of Padma Puran, Aprarabdha Phalam Kutam Bijam Falonmukam? How many devotees are hearing for the first time? First time. Oh, 5 devotees. Okay, many devotees. So now, let me come to this important discussion, especially before Bhanu Swami Maharaj translated Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakra Thakur commentary. We had the summary study of Srila Prabhupada, The Nectar of Devotion, and there was one book called as The Waves of Devotion, which was a comprehensive study of the Nectar of Devotion by Srila Prabhupada. And there it is written by Dhanurdhar Swami Maharaj. It's an excellent work to get a deeper understanding of Nectar of Devotion, and I recommend devotees should also read that to get better understanding of the Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion. But ultimately, we did not have access to the Sanskrit original works and the commentaries of the Acharyas. So we can get into serious philosophical troubles if we consider the Papa Bija, the material desires, and Karma Bija, reaction which is nearing fructification, to be the same. So this problem actually crept in the waves of devotion. So only when now Bhanu Maharaj has translated, now we are very clear. So how many of you have seen these diagrams before? Raise your hands. Or first time, how many of you have seen these diagrams before? Raise your hands. These diagrams, anyone has seen them before? Raise your hands. How many of you have seen this diagram? Oh, none. Okay, then you're quite fortunate. So here, Papam, the understanding that time before these commentaries were out was how it was that Papam has this 2 phases of reaction: unmanifest reactions, which is called as Aprarabdha, and manifest reactions, which is called as Prarabdha. And this Aprarabdha goes on to become Kutam. That is called as, Kutam was considered as sinful inclination. And then Bijam. Bijam is sinful desire. And because you have committed a sin, and now that sin has these 2 parts: unmanifested reaction. The manifested reaction is that you are addicted to drinking and you suffer after drinking. But where the understanding was that there will be a sinful inclination, which is called as kutam, and there is again a desire to drink, that is sinful desire. And this sinful desire impels you to again commit this sin. And again you go through this prarabdha, kutam bijam, or sorry, aprarabdha kutam bijam and the prarabdha. And another diagram is here where the avidya is included. Avidya, bijam and papam was there. So because of avidya, there is desire, sinful desire. This is papa bija, remember. And there is papam, that is sinful action. Now this sinful action again has these two phases, aprarabdha, unmanifest reaction. Prarabdha is manifest reaction, which is in the form of direct suffering. And this aprarabdha goes into kutam, sinful disposition. And there is again a sinful desire. So like that, again you go through the cycle of aprarabdha and prarabdha, again kutam and bijam. So these were the diagrams which were previously being referred. Now we can really get into trouble if we equate the papa bijam to the karma bijam. Now, why we can get into trouble is, would you like to get into this vicious cycle that once you commit a sin and you get a prarabdha reaction, manifest reaction, and a aprarabdha, that is the unmanifest reaction, and you get an inclination and you again have that desire and keep on repeating it. It's a vicious cycle. What happened to your free will? One wrong action and you are trapped for eternity. For eternity, you keep on, suffering, because it's it's an unending cycle. That one sinful, action you did, there is a prarabdha, manifest reaction, and a aprarabdha, that is unmanifest reaction, which turns into inclination, bijam, and then you commit papam. Like that, it is like, it goes on eternity. You're stuck forever. So what is the correct understanding then now? The correct understanding is here. Consider this option. Rupa Goswami is saying that klesha is because of avidya, papa bijam, and papam. Now, jiva has control over these things. They are not inevitable. That means sometimes I might be going in some other country driving and I don't know the traffic rules, and I end up being caught by the police and I pay a heavy fine. I am suffering because of it. Or maybe one day I have to visit the police station. Now that is because of avidya. This action, what I did, is because of avidya, ignorance. So once I know, then I will not commit that. Jiva has control over these things. Then there is sinful desire. Once I have this sinful desire and I commit a sinful act, I might have a realization that whatever I might learn from that experience. And next time, even if that sinful desire comes, based on my experience, I might say no. Because jiva ultimately is the doer. The jiva is the doer. And the jiva has to take decision. These impressions are there in the chitta, but they are inert matter. They cannot impel the jiva to commit sin. As in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is asking, Atakkena prayoktoyam papam charati purusha annichanapi vashneya baladiva nyojasa. Balad, they might push you. But until and unless the jiva takes a decision, yes, I want to do it, till then the impressions on their own, they cannot act because they are inert dead matter. They are sinful impressions. That's it. They are subtle impressions. Then there is a sinful act. Once you do a sinful act, once the act is committed, this sinful act goes through these 4 stages. Aprarabdha, unmanifest reaction. Kutam, reaction about to become Papa Bija. Karma Bija, reaction nearing fructification. And then Prarabdha, manifest reaction. So any sinful act which is performed, the act goes through these 4 stages, which is inevitable reactions. These are inevitable. Once you perform that act, then it goes through these 4 stages. And that is why this karma bija, it is this karma bija, it is not papa bija. Whereas this is papa bija, which the jiva has control. Whereas the karma bija, the jiva has no control because he had to decide it here. Once he decides and does an act, then it goes through these 4 stages. So that's how by distinguishing this Papa Bija and Karma Bija, we can have a clear understanding of what Rupa Goswami has used this term in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and what the Padma Puran is saying. Now, okay, there is further more discussion, but there is one question here. Yes, Ratna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, where does atonement fit in this? Does that not make any change in aprarabdha?
Okay, atonement in the Karma Kanda scriptures, it is mentioned that if somebody has committed a sin, this comes in the 6th canto, if somebody has committed a sin, the moment he realizes that he has committed a sin, then the Karma Kanda scriptures mention atonement, which is called as prashchit. Now, because these recommendations are given in the Shastra, and if he follows the prescriptions of the Shastra and atones for the sins what he has committed in the form of doing prashchits, what are mentioned in the Karma Kanda scriptures, then the reactions which he is going to suffer in the form of aprarabdha to kutam to bijam to prarabdha, that is destroyed because he is following the scriptures, the recommendation of the Vedas, and Vedas come from Krishna, and ultimately by chanting the holy name. Internet connection went off. So I was explaining that how there is atonement because it is part of the Karma Kanda scriptures. So that is why if one realizes that he has committed sin and he takes to the atonement prescribed in the Vedas, then the sins get nullified because he is following the Vedas. And just to give a clear example to this is suppose you have been detected of a very chronic disease and you have been detected now, oh, disease is there now. And if you follow the prescriptions of the doctor, that is the do's and don'ts, what he says, a regulated diet, and then the medication, then this chronic disease which just has begun, now it is in the first stage, you can by proper medication, by proper following the diet, you can avoid the suffering when this disease is going to become deeper, chronic, and you'll be suffering more, maybe when it might go to the 4th stage or 5th stage. So in the case of even medicine, when this can happen, why not in the case of Prashit, which is part of the Karma Kanda Shastras of the scriptures? I hope it is clear, Mataji. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. But as we were talking about the NOI verse, Prabhu, the avidya has not gone, Prabhu. So
Yes,
does
yes.
that again? That's a
We
continuous.
yes. The Ajamal's pastime mentions when Sukdev Goswami recommended Karma Kanda, Parikshit Maharaj rejected, and because avidya is still not destroyed, that is why. So bhakti, the potency of bhakti is that bhakti will destroy even avidya. So we have still not come to destruction of papa bija and destruction of avidya. We have still not discussed. So when we finish that discussion, I think things will become clear to you more. Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji has a question.
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Prabhu, just a doubt, like, okay, we have done sins and we are suffering now. So once you suffer, the sins will be totally eradicated. It will not give again the next reaction. Is it going to continue? Is it going to finish off like one sin, one suffering? The equation is solved.
I think there is some problem with the audio there, but yeah, I got the question. Your internet connection is unstable. It is saying for me. Okay, 1 minute. Let me try to change the connection. Okay. So how it is, the way of karma is very subtle. That's why in the Gita, Krishna says, Gahana karmano gati. The gati, the path of karma is gahana. It's very, very difficult to fathom and realize. Now, any reaction which comes to us, now how we react to that reaction matters a lot. How we react to that reaction. So when the reaction comes, you go through the suffering, and you should not do any further actions to create further reactions to that. Because the action and reaction cycle is there. So that's why when you create further actions, then it will again go to the chain of aprarabdha, kutam, bijam, phalam, kam, or prarabdha, and it goes to the complete sum total of karma, which is sanchit karma. So like that, whether it is for materialist or for devotees also, we have to see how we react to the reactions. One of our sannyasis, the first lecture I heard in the temple, he was speaking on Ajamil's pastime. I will never forget that. So he gave a wonderful example of how one should not react to reactions. So he said that suppose a businessman had gone to another country for a big business deal, and he was very positive that he'll strike the deal and he's going to make a big business, and his company is going to grow. So he goes for the meeting, and it so happens that he loses that deal. Things fail. So when things fail and he doesn't get the deal, it's like a reaction he gets. Now he's quite upset, and he is moving back to his country. He boards the flight, and when he's boarding the flight, the air hostess closes the door. He gets a call. Come back. There is something we can do about this deal. Now, this was another opportunity he's getting, and now he requests the air hostess, please open the door and I want to go out. And the air hostess says no. When he says no, this is also now an action. There is one action in the form of a phone call. Now he reacts to the air hostess and he starts yelling at her, I'm going to lose my deal. Please let me out. And she says no. And again, now he has suffered a reaction in the form of not getting a deal. And now he's locked up here in the airplane and he can't do anything about it. The flight is, the aeroplane is on the runway and it is about to take off. Now he has got another reaction. The first reaction he got in the meeting where, he could not strike the deal. The second action was the call where no comeback. And the reaction was in the form of the air hostess saying no. And now he's very upset with the air hostess and he doesn't know what to do. And they are serving him liquor. So he takes on liquor and somehow yells at the next person who's sitting. And they pick up a fight and he punches the other person. And ultimately, when the flight lands down, the police is waiting for him for the reaction what he gave, for the action what he did with his neighbor. So when he comes out of the flight, the police takes a note of the action what he did, and he now has to face a complaint. Police station, he has to go to the police station. So like that, the action reaction chain is there. So it all depends on how we react to reactions. So this is an art we should learn. And that is why in the Gita, Krishna says, Buddhi yukta jahatiya ubrat ube sukrita diskrita tasmad yoga yudhyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yes, I will take out that verse. Very interesting verse. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it is second chapter, verse maybe 50 or 51. Let me see. Yes, 50. So Krishna is saying here in the Bhagavad Gita, Ube sukrita dushkrute tasmad yogahaya yunjasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. A man engaged in devotional service, even for self-realization, so this verse is applicable. That is any path of yoga, that is Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. Both good and bad reactions in this life. And both good and bad. Therefore, strive for yoga. Tasmat yoga jasa, which is the art of all work. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Kaushalam means what? Art. Prabhupada calls it as an art. Now, kusha grass. How many of you have heard about kusha grass? Everyone must have heard about kusha grass. Yes? How many of you have heard about kusha grass? Raise your hands. Kusha grass is used as a mat. Okay. Now, how many know how to cut kusha grass? How do you cut a kusha grass? Raise your hands now. Okay. Many have raised their hands about the kusha grass, but how many know how to cut kusha grass? Raise your hands now. Okay, devotees who have raised their hands know the art of cutting a kusha grass. Okay. Let us ask even our Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji only. Yes, Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji?
No, Prabhu, no, I don't know.
Okay, many have raised and then Lata Mataji, do you know how do you cut a kusha grass? Okay, maybe you will have to lower your hands and then raise your hands. Who know how do we cut kusha grass? Okay, so I'll only answer. Actually, kusha grass is very, very sharp. Okay, Prabhu has his hand. Yes. Yes, Pavan Balakoin Prabhuji. I've unmuted you. No response.
Prabhu, you have
So
unmuted me, Prabhu.
Kushagra's,
Hare Krishna,
I've
Dandavat Pranam.
unmuted you. Yes, yes.
Kushagra's edges are very, very sharp. So normally what they do is they will catch in the middle and cut it with the sickle. That's how
Yes,
normally
yes.
it is cut.
Yes. So there is the art how to cut a kushagrass. If you hold the kushagrass and with the axe or a sickle, if you try to cut it, this action you do, but you will get a reaction in the form of your hand will be cut because the kushagrass is so sharp. So there is an art by which you cut kushagrass. So Himalaya Krishna is saying yoga karma su kaushalam. You should know that yoga by which you do actions where you don't get reactions. And not only that, when reactions to you, how you should take them. That verse is Punjan eva atmakrit pakam. That famous verse which Lord Brahma speaks. So that's how we should, practice it in our life. I hope it is clear, Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, very clear. Important.
Yes. Okay. So now further some points regarding what Prabhupada has to say about this. Now Prabhupada has not gone in detail to explain all the subtleties what we discussed. Prabhupada knew later on, the commentary will come, but let us try to understand. It is stated in the Padma Purana that there are 4 kinds of effects due to sinful activities. So there are 4 kinds of effects. That means it is karma only. It is listed as follows. The effect which is not yet fructified, this is aprarabdha. The effect which is lying as seed, this is kutam. The effect which is already mature, this is prarabdha. The effect which is almost mature, this is karma bij. So Prabhupada's usage of the terms makes it very clear. It is all effect, reaction. The reaction is in the form of aprarabdha, kutam, bijam, and prarabdha. So already mature is prarabdha and almost mature is bija, and here it is lying in the seed is kutam because it's not going to manifest in this lifetime. It is also stated that all these 4 effects become immediately vanquished for those who surrender to the Supreme Personality God of Vishnu and become engaged in his devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. From this statement of Padma Puran, it is understood material contamination is very subtle. Its beginning, its fruition, and results, and how one suffers such results in the form of distress are part of a great chain. Prarabdha, kutam, bijam, prarabdha. Now Prabhupada gives example. When one catches some disease, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it originated and how maturing. Prarabdha, kutam, bijam, prarabdha. The suffering of disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time. Kramena eva praliyate. And as in the medical field, for precaution's sake, the doctor injects a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. Practical injection to stop all the fructifications of the seeds of our sinful activity is simply engagement in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada is not defining kutam and bijam as sinful proclivity disposition here in his explanation. So nowhere does Prabhupada say that kutam and bijam are sinful desire or sinful disposition, which was mentioned in the diagrams, if you see. Now, Prabhupada gave a lecture on the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:6 Bombay. Let us hear. Prabhupada now defines here kutam. Kutastha, then falonmukha and falaprapti. there are 3 stages. Karmashayam Kutastha in the seed form, Kutastha, then Falonmukam, sprouting, then Prapta, Prarabdha. So Prabhupada, in these 3 terms he has used, Kutastha, Falonmukha and Falaprapti. What is Prabhupada speaking here? Raise your hands. At least from the discussion now, you should be clear. What are these 3 terms referring to? Kutastha, Falonmukha, Falaprapti. Prabhupada is using in a different way, but from the Padma Puran terminology, what these 3 refer to? Raise your hand who would like to answer. Yes, Ratna Mataji. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Falaprapti refers to Prarabdha.
Yes.
Falonmukha, it's sprouting. It refers to the bija.
Yes.
And Kutastha refers to Aprarabdha.
Kutastha refers to actually Kutam only. Okay. Here it will
Okay.
become clear. In the beginning, it will become clear here now. You can see here. Prabhupada in a different way uses it. In the beginning, it is Prarabdha, not yet manifest. And Prarabdha means manifest. So Prarabdha and Aprarabdha, not manifest, manifest. The same example, as we have given several times, infection. We have infections. Suppose I have infected some chronic disease or infectious disease. It is not yet manifest, but it is Kutastha. It is in the seed form there is. Then all of a sudden we get some feverish condition. Then that is called Falonmukha. And when it is high fever and quite manifest, the delusion and so many other things, that is called Prarabdha. So that's how Prabhupada is explaining here. So we are all undergoing Praphalam, manifest phala for our past deeds. So they are very deep rooted. It is very difficult to uproot them. But there is one process that is recommended. Bhaja Vasudevam, Bhaja. The others, there are many. Was again interruption connection. So here the point was these are all sinful reactions. That's it. That's why we bought this decision. It was all sinful reactions. Now we have finished this discussion. I will take one more verse and we will finish the discussion today. We have 7 more minutes. Now next verse, Swami is giving Bij Haratvam. We should remember here Avidya, Bijam, Papam, suffering. So Bija here refers to material desires. So for that, Rupa Goswami is quoting from the 6th canto, Ajamil Pastimes. Taistanyagani puyante tapodana vratadibi na dharmajam tad hridayam api shangrisevaya. Although one may neutralize, tai puyante, puyante means to neutralize. the reactions of sinful life, Tani Aghani, Aghani means sin, through austerity, charity, vows, and other such methods. Tapodana Vratadibi. These pious activities cannot uproot the material desires. Na adharmajam in one's heart, tad hridayam. However, if one serves the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, he is immediately freed from all such contaminations. Tad api ish angri sevaya. So here the most important point is uprooting of the material desires, bija, from the heart. That is possible only by devotional service, and it is not possible by austerity, charity, vows, and other methods. This verse shows how the seed acts as a cause of sin. Here, Papa Bija it is. Jiva Goswami saying, Puyante comes from the word pun, which means to destroy. Sins, heavy or light, referred to in the previous Bhagavatam verse, are destroyed by austerity, charity, and vows. The root, the subtle form of sins, tad hridayam, arising from evil nature, is not destroyed by pious activities. The root, however, is destroyed by bhakti to the Lord's lotus feet, because bhakti destroys even the desires for sin. The propensity to commit sin is destroyed from the root, from the heart, by the practice of devotion. Now again a note, this seed, Papa Bija, must be distinguished from the Bija, Karma Bija, mentioned in the last verse, that is the Padma Puran verse, which is a part of sinful reaction mentioned in verse 18. The seed now being discussed is the second type of klesha mentioned in verse 18. So that I have clarified now. Kleshas tu papam tad bijam avidya chet te tridha. So this verse mentions in verse 18, this is verse 18, the second type of klesha is because of bij. When we have sinful desires, we suffer at a subtle level. But by practicing bhakti, the sinful desire is itself destroyed. Now, Prabhupada gives a clear explanation of this. By performing Vedic ritualistic activities, by giving money in charity, and by undergoing austerity, one can temporarily become free from the reactions of sinful activities, but at the next moment, he must again become engaged in sinful activities. This is the Karma Kanda Prashchit process. Now, Prabhupada gives a very practical example. For example, a person suffering from venereal disease on account of excessive indulgence in sex life has to undergo some severe pain in medical treatment, and he is then cured for the time being. But because he has not been able to remove the sex desire from his heart, he must again indulge in the same thing and become a victim of the same disease. So many times we see, because of this HIV virus, people, because of illicit sex life, they become implicated with this disease and they suffer a lot, and then they sometimes take medication and get cured. But because the desire in the heart is there, that has not been eradicated, they again indulge in this same activity. So medical treatment may give relief, temporary relief for the distress of such vulnerable disease. But unless one is trained to understand that sex life is abominable, it is impossible to be saved from such repeated distress. Similarly, the ritualistic performances, charity and austerity, which are recommended in the Vedas, may temporarily stop one from acting in sinful ways, but as long as the heart is not clear, one will have to repeat sinful activities again and again. Another example given in Srimad Bhagavatam concerns the elephant who enters into the lake and takes a bath very seriously, cleansing his body thoroughly. But then, as soon as he comes out onto shore, he again takes some dust from the earth and throws it over his body. Similarly, a person who is not trained in Krishna consciousness cannot be completely free from the desire for sinful activities. Neither the yoga process nor philosophical speculation, nor fruitive activities can save one from the seed of sinful desires. Only by being engaged in devotional service can this be done. So that is why the Prashchit process was rejected by Parikshit Maharaj. Kvachit abhadrat, kvachit charati tatpuna, prashchitam apartha, manne kunjara shauchavat, as Parikshit Maharaj says. You know, he commits sin and he does prashchit and he says, now I should not do. But because the process he has taken up is not having the potency to purify the heart, again, he has not controlled his senses. Again, he does the sinful activity and again he does prashchit. And that's why Parikshit Maharaj says it is manne kunjara shauchvat. It is like the elephant. It is dirty, it takes a bath in the lake, comes out and again rolls in the mud. So now the next is avidya haratvam yata chaturte. So this is a long discussion. For a few slides, we'll have to discuss that. With avidya haratvam, the first characteristic of your devotional service, that is Kleshagni, will be over. So tomorrow we will take up avidya haratvam, and then we will go to the next characteristic of pure devotional service, that is Shubhada. So here onwards, the discussion is quite short. It's not as detailed as the Padma Puran discussion. Okay. So any questions, any clarifications anyone has? Okay, fine then. So tomorrow we will meet in the afternoon, 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time and time. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Hare Krishna.